Hello everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us on our weekly Friday webinars. Today I am joined by our awesome managing attorney, Ruby Powers, and we are here to discuss ways to expedite your case with USCIS. Just some background info on our attorney Powers. She has been licensed since 2008 and is a board certified immigration and nationality attorney. Attorney Powers, do you want to take it away?
Yes. So we get asked a lot this question on how could we expedite our case with USCIS. They're seeing really high processing times, unfortunately. In fact, if you probably already know how to check your processing time, you can go to the USCIS website and check it there under processing times. And so if we go take a look at that, let's see. I'll go ahead and share my screen. So you go to uscis.gov and then you go to check processing times. And now, unfortunately, you generally have to wait until after the time has passed before you can start complaining about it or doing advocacy, another word for saying that. So let's just go ahead and say I-601 at Nebraska Service Center and they are working on cases for 7 to 9.5 months, and your receipt date for a case inquiry, basically FYI, not supposed to complain unless you had filed it before May 19, 2021. If you did that, then you can complain. But other than that, hold your horses. That's basically how you're supposed to interpret these things. Now, are these always accurate? No, no. Do they want to make them look longer than they really are? Sometimes, because then you can't complain until they say you can complain. And so I will tell you though that people have been really frustrated, and I've even joined a federal lawsuit listserv recently because just so many people are frustrated with all the wait times. Now, the problem is that everybody's frustrated, so everybody's complaining, so then it almost desensitizes USCIS into thinking it's an actual concern or not. So you do have to be wary of, is this something you really want to complain about or advocate for? Or is this something you could maybe hang tight for a little bit more? Now, employment authorization matters. Now, there's a little special things for those. If you're in the medical profession, you can show proof of that. And they've been telling people that if you're within 30 days of losing your work authorization, they will help you adjudicate that sooner. You can even try, even if you're just in that medical profession for humanitarian needs. Just recently, they just announced that they will give people who, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Daya, but I think we just talked about it on the Powers Hour update this week, but it's people who have asylum granted, people who have refugee status, people who have withholding, and people who have VAWA. Normally, we're only given 1 year if they were with work authorization. Now they're giving 2 years, try to prevent this problem about delays. What we're also telling people for work authorization is to apply as soon as your work authorization, 6 months before it's about to expire. So hopefully you meet one of those qualifications to get an automatic 100-day extension if you file before it expires. What you just said there was that you have to wait a whole year to get an approval, and then you're going to play this whole game pretty soon afterwards. A lot of conversations are saying, why don't we just have most of these E8 work authorizations for 2 years? So at least it'll reduce the amount of headache on USCIS and to the applicant, that they're not having to be monitoring this as closely. Okay, so we'll keep moving. But if it is EAD, I just want to give you those updates because those came out in the last couple of weeks. So how to request, what are some criteria and circumstances? How do they assess? How do I ask to request to expedite, and can I appeal the request? So some of this is ever evolving because so many people are asking for expedites. So you might find that during the immigration process, you need to travel, you need to get your work authorization, something is happening that you really, or you've been waiting a long time to be reunited with your family. So there is an avenue to do this, but they all say it's by case basis. They recently, in February, updated their expedite request list of criteria. I think in general, what I would say is if it's going to be severe financial loss, if it's a humanitarian extreme reason like life or death, and then if it's in the U.S. government interest or nonprofit organization furthering cultural social interest, or clear USCIS error. But USCIS makes a lot of mistakes, so yeah, I mean, probably they would say, well, it has to belong to one of these other prongs as well. So, I mean, a lot of times I'm telling people you've got to show the connection to what how them answering the question or adjudicating this application is going to keep you from severe financial loss, or somebody may potentially dying or getting not being able to see them before they die, or some sick health or life or death situation. So the problem with them being slow and everybody complaining is that it raises the bar of what it takes to get an expedite approved. And I've seen this as well with asylum interview expedite requests. So this is unfortunately an issue, and hopefully USCIS can catch up with us. So they don't generally review expedite requests where premium processing is available. Again, premium processing very limited for certain I-140s, E2 petitions, very, very limited. And actually, this is something that's being discussed to expand the option of those who can pay the $2,500 to get H-1Bs as well, to be able to get that response within 3 business weeks. A lot of people say if you were to expand that, then USCIS would get more money and people would get their answers faster, and they'd be willing to do that. Maybe they could USCIS could do it for just like a couple years or so and catch up on their backlogs. That would be nice. So anyway, it's expedited processing for Bennett requests with those with final orders. And removals is coordinated between USCIS and ICE, and to increase efficiency in the review and processing of expedite requests, they do not provide justification or otherwise respond regarding decisions. So just to speed themselves up, they might not say the reason why they did what they did. So how do you get them to USCIS to expedite their case? You get the receipt notice. You can call USCIS. I recently listened to a recording a USCIS stakeholder meeting where they're using an online AI type of a communication. I think they call it Mia. There's Emma and there's Mia, but basically apparently they're cousins. And they it's a way to help eliminate the staffing demands as they can help triage people's needs. And so you put your information there, and then they can a tier 1 officer is reviewing and can chat back to you, and then they will be able to respond back as needed. And if you need scheduling for anything like an interview or whatever, or appointments or something like that, more of like a info pass, then they would have to go to tier 2. But tier 1 can answer certain things. Then you would ask to make a request and get an expedite service request number, and then track the expedite request. So sometimes you might be dismissed right there on that phone call. They might say, no, we're not going to let you expedite it. Or ideally, they're going to send you an email asking for more additional information that you could respond to. And then they'll either say yes or no. When you receive it, then you would get a decision and be able to, on that expedite request, and then ideally decision on the application. My big takeaway here would be there's ways to advocate. The question is, do you want to be the squeaky wheel? Is it something you really need? Or is it something that it's not necessarily important right now? A lot of people, there's people having health issues, complications, people haven't reunited for a few years because of COVID, 2 years because of COVID, there's a higher death, there's a lot of stuff going on. So you got to really think, do you really want to be putting your hat in the ring for this expedite or not? And if you think it's best, then go ahead, but don't do it unless you think it's something you really want to do, because USCIS is trying their best, but again, they need to catch up. So if you've asked before, if USCIS denies your request, you can submit an appeal of the denial. Of course, it could take a long time in a case-by-case basis. You might be able to just try to ask again, and there might be some other way that you want to advocate. So the way I've been doing advocacy for cases that I would say that sort of like get off the train tracks, like it's sort of in limbo place, they get a little messy and you don't know really what's going on for a long time. And there's a lot of ways that you can try to you go and then you escalate them as you progress. So generally after doing certain requests and maybe a potentially expedite request and nothing happens, you could go to the ombudsman to get a request. Now, just recently, in the last couple of weeks, ombudsman came out with a notice saying they will not entertain requests if the request is because of a complaint about the processing times. Yeah, they probably realize the majority of the requests are because of that. So yeah, probably not going to be your option if that's still their policy to do expedite. You could also reach out to your local congressperson or Senate office. Usually on every website, they say, need assistance. You fill it out, you say what the issue is, you summarize it, you say who's the point of contact, and then they can go about through their channels to see if they can get a back way answer or push along the case. If you have an attorney and your attorney is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, you can also work with them to see if they can work with a liaison assistance. And generally, if you've done everything and you're still out of processing times and you have a really important issue, you could also work towards filing a writ of mandamus in federal court where you prepare to basically sue the government and ask them to move forward with the case. Now, you don't want to do the written mandamus lightly. You want to make sure that you've exhausted all options. Now, everything on this slide, hopefully you don't need to use it. Just saying it does exist, okay? And mostly you'd probably want to have legal assistance helping guide you on to which one to do, when to do it, and to guide you to make sure you can do it successfully. Now, hopefully you don't have to ever use the information you just learned on this webinar, but if you do, you're probably watching because you're intending to expedite. Now, again, USCIS can make some changes into how they're proceeding at a moment's notice. So this is general guidance and doesn't take the place of legal advice, but always feel free to reach out for a consultation, and we assist a lot of individuals who filed on their own, filed with a notario, filed with a friend or somebody else who was helping them, or with another attorney and just need some help speeding up the case, and we can give you an assessment on what we think we can do to help you. So thanks so much for watching. Daya, how can they stay in touch with us?
Yeah, so to stay connected with us, you guys can follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're always posting on TikTok, and we have some really good information on there as well. We also have a newsletter that you guys can subscribe to, and all of that information is on our website. And go ahead and join us next week for our next Friday webinar. It's going to be Immigration 101, what to do with your documents, just some good information that everybody should know. But thank you all so much for joining us today.